Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and welcome to part 3 of Manufacturing Mondays, where we'll be continuing our GBC factory build, but we'll be leaving the mock build behind and starting to build the real thing from the ground up. So from now on I will be moving away from this rainbow brick build, which was just to prove the concept of the mechanism getting all the way from the top to the bottom. But I won't dismantle it just yet because I can kind of use it for reference when building the other one, at least until I need to steal things like these flex cable pieces and the basketball hoop for the real thing, because I don't have duplicates for those. But before I even push it to one side, I do want to show you one improvement which we had from last time, which is the mechanization of these robot arms. A lot of commenters wanted to see these arms moving to suggest that they're part of the manufacturing process. And I did agree, but I thought it would be rather difficult. But like most things, they're very difficult until you at least try. So I actually devised quite a simple low profile mechanism for getting them going. Because what I really didn't want was loads of mechanical gubbins all sort of getting in the way of our view of the rest of the build. But what I've done is actually buried another one of these gears in the middle of the conveyor belt, which I was worried the belt would just sort of slip past and not really turn, but it does actually turn it, and that turns an axle, the end of which is there. You can see this just turns it 90 degrees, and that means we have a spinning axle here that basically has all these cams on it that actually hit each of these arms and cause them to bounce. Now, these two aren't mechanized at the moment, and that's just because they're on the other side, obviously. But in the final build, all four will be on the same side, on the near side, and they'll all be powered. You can see there's plenty of axle space here for two more cams to hit those as well. But it's just that this area here is a bit structural on my mock up here, so I can't really incorporate them. But to give you a trial run of what that will look like, but imagine all four are doing it, it will look something like this. And I think you'll agree that that is a great improvement. It gives a lot more motion to that top area and really suggests that there is a manufacturing process going on. And the rest of the entire course all the way to the bottom is unchanged. But yeah, I'm really glad I did that, and I'm really glad that you guys encouraged me to do it, because without the encouragement of further improvements, I probably wouldn't have bothered, to be honest. And a special shout out to Brick Section, who did a video, and others who gave me pictures of suggestions and detailed descriptions to try and help me along with that process. So a big bedoing to all of you. Right, okay, so I've got a grey base plate now to do the actual build on, so I suggest we get started. Right, so when we build this one, I think I'm going to have to build it from the ground up, floor by floor, as you might expect, but that's very different from how we did the mechanical version, where we did just the lift shaft and kind of started from the top doing all of the ramps going down. But I don't think that's going to be a possibility this time, just because we're going to have so many details and structural bits and all the rest of it. So I'm going to be using this 16 by 32 base plate, and I'm going to use absolutely every square inch of it. In fact, it's probably going to spill out the front a little bit onto what will be a road plate next to it. I've put in a plate layer just along the bottom where the walls are going to be, with a gap for the garage, which is going to have the van or truck sitting in it, a little bit more than where the front door will be, and the side wall. And this 2x2 brick is going to be holding the van in place because it will have wheels, so it will be able to move around. And we don't want that when it's part of the mechanism. So next I want to add this, and this will just be the bricks that are supporting the bottom portion of the ramp that comes out of the truck. And if none of this is making sense, I do suggest that you go back and watch part 1 and part 2 if you haven't already, because otherwise what we're doing today won't make a lot of sense to you, and it will be a lot more clear when you know what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so then the next stage is to do the bottom of the lift shaft, which I can put on here. There we go. And that looks a lot more robust than we had it in the mock-up. and it should provide a lot of support to the rest of the building as it is now. And you can see those two modified plates are the ones that will hold the ball waiting to go up by either side, and the hook that is part of the belt will go between them and pick up the waiting ball that will get replaced by the next one on the ramp. So that's all very good. And I've got some Technic bricks here, which will just allow me to put in the bottom gear that will hold the belt, and that will go like that. Brilliant. So now we need to add the next bit, which will be the rest of this lift shaft. And I've decided to go for quite bright colours on the inside. So we've got bright red for the entire lift shaft, and then different areas of the build will be different colours. So you'll kind of be able to see which bit's which in the process just by colour coding in a way. So red for the lift shaft. There's the nice wide entry port for the balls that we won't be able to see later because it will be concealed. And you can see there is the shaft that they're coming up with the walls on 3 sides, and the belt will be kind of up here making the 4th wall, meaning the balls have got nowhere to go to escape. Yeah. So that's looking really good there. So I think the next thing is to probably put on the motor and the battery and have that all sort of hidden in this area. And then we can start with some of the interior details and the external walls. So the next area contains all of the power functions, and they're mostly hidden, but we need some access to be able to sort of turn it on and off and so on. But here's my medium motor, and I've got 2 more Technic pins just so it's very firmly connected to this wall so it won't go walkabout or something like that. And just see if I can get that on. There we go. So that's very firmly held there. And then this is the battery box I'm going to be using. It is a rechargeable battery box, which is extra good because I can recharge it using this port here, and I won't ever have to remove it from this building to change the batteries. And it also enables me to change the speed with this turning bit here. So essentially I need to connect that onto there. May as well just check it's working. Yep, that's going fine. And then I can kind of tuck the wire underneath the motor and have the battery box showing here. But I want that to be very firmly held in place. So I've just made this little setup, which is just some bricks and some brackets. And that's so I can kind of clip that onto the bottom of the battery box, which I've just turned on. There we go, turn it off again. And have that held in place firmly about here. So I'm going to put that in, and then I can kind of brick all of this in as well. Right, so now that's securely held in position, I can actually put in a back wall here, just in white, and a side wall here, again just in white, and fill in the gaps on either side of the battery box with some white plates and tiles, just to make that as low profile as possible. I'm going to use this wonderful piece with a dial that goes right up to 11, and the mechanism does work on that high speed as well. I'll push that in there, and that just makes the whole thing easier to change the speed of. And then I can hold all of this in position using this plate here. And this is a lovely 8x8 grill piece here, and you can see the battery box and so on through that, but I don't mind that because that kind of looks like the mechanism that would be driving this in real life, because it would have a power source, and we can have a little scene on here and make it a little platform for the big boss man, who I've got here in his white shirt with his little ID badge, notepad and so on, and obviously he's got a mug for his tea, much like me, very important, and he's also got a clipboard with pen and so on, so he's really monitoring what's going on. So I thought this platform could be where he worked, basically monitoring the factory and what everyone else was doing, really. So I'll just pop him down here for now while we finish his area. Well, I say finish, do a bit more of, I suppose. I'm just going to put some inverted slopes along this side, because these are going to take some of his computer terminals, and I'm going to put an area there as well, and that there, just to tie it all in. So I wanted loads and loads of computer screens to represent what he was up to. So I basically looked in all of my supplies at what I had, and I've got this many to choose from. Now this one's a bit stained, so I'm going to leave that one out. That looks a bit too radar-like for me, I think, so I'm going to leave that one out. And that one looks a bit isolated in it being modern there. So I think I'm going to have these two old ones on the back over there. And then I'll have these three on the side over here. So this will be his large control panel where he's monitoring ball production of the ginormous balls that this factory makes in all of the 4 colours. And I kind of thought that these 2 terminals would represent the 4 sort of different colours of balls that are being produced. And there's a couple of studs for him to stand there in the middle. Maybe he's got his tea on one of the computers or something like that, I don't know. But that'll be a fun scene, and maybe we should actually have him looking at us, because he's got a very jolly face, so I think that makes a pretty good scene. Right, so now I think we're in a position to start building the outside walls and really starting to enclose this thing. Now, if you remember, I took a lot of inspiration from the real-life factories in real-life Nottingham. A lot of them, well, virtually all of them aren't factories anymore, but they were all built in this beautiful dark red brick, and they were quite ornate because they were built in a time when a lot of people spent a lot of money and effort into making buildings look pretty. So I'm going to try and emulate as much of that as I can, shown in these pictures here, in my build, so it really looks like a very old factory building that's probably been used to produce something or other for many years, and it's only recently that it's been refurbished on the inside to produce ginormous balls. So yeah, I'll start probably right over here and end right over there. Okay, so the walls are in this lovely dark red colour, which will provide a really nice dark backdrop for all of the colourful goings on the inside, and hopefully look really classic from the outside as well. And I've added a few of these grill bricks intermittently on the outside just for a bit of texture. And furthermore, I've added some of these profile bricks with the half brick on, and that's just so there's hints of the building being a bit old and a bit run down. And I could have done the whole build in those, but I find it's a bit repetitive when used in a really huge area. So I'll put that bit there. And I've also got this sort of palisade brick layer here and this dark bluish grey plate layer here as well, just to give the whole build a lot more interest on the outside. So that is those 2 sections. I've got another section to go here, another profile brick and so on. Now, I'm not so worried about this wall here being very interesting, because essentially it's going to be pressed up against its neighbouring building and you aren't going to see it too much. So I'm going to have fewer windows on this side, being the solid wall from the right as we look at the front of the building, whereas the left I think might be on the end of the row of buildings that the hospital is the other far end, if you see what I mean. So that new haunted subway stop might be right here. So we'll have a lot more windows on this side. So that's my plan at the moment. And then we come to our first main issue with the design, which is this gap here. Now, this is obviously the vertical shaft for the conveyor belt, and it has the hooks on that pick up the balls. But that is actually long enough that it would actually hit this wall if it was solid. It's a very close run thing, but it would actually hit and stop the whole thing working. So what I need to do is to basically create a little bit of space here to allow those hooks to go past unfettered. So what I've created is this, and it's only sort of set off by half a stud, but that's all the space that's actually needed. So when we actually put this in position, it actually creates quite a lot of interest there, I think. Almost looks like an old chimney breast or something like that, whilst being half a stud off and leaving enough room, as we say. So I think that this lift shaft here is actually a people lift shaft, or maybe even a stairway that sort of spirals up, because in the illusion that is our GBC factory, the balls aren't actually going up here at all, are they? Because they're just being collected in the van. So I think that this could be an old stair shaft or an old lift shaft, and that's why we've got this bit sticking out the side of the building. But if you're like me, I think you'll think that this small amount of detail would look good anyway, really, even if it wasn't fundamental for the workings of the mechanism underneath. Now, to secure this in position, so it's not really wobbly and fragile, I've got two modified bricks with stud on the side there, and then I've got a pair of headlight bricks there, and they are actually the right geometry, so I can actually use one of these double curved slope pieces to actually connect onto that and those and keep the spacing absolutely perfect, and then it ties in with the rest of this light bluish grey layer. So I think that looks really good, and we'll continue with this sort of pattern all the way up the building. So there we go. Maybe it's slightly off at the bottom, but it does work. Right, so then we need to move on to our first window, and you can see I've left a 6 long space there, and the way I'm going to be building all of my windows is the same. So we've got a nice window ledge here with a 2x6 plate and some other plates around the outside. Then I'm going to have 2 ornate sides built out of these palisade bricks, 6 windows of the smaller type, because if you remember all of the pictures of those factories that I'm using as inspiration, I think glass was a lot more expensive in those days, so they built lots of windows, but they're all very small, so they built loads and loads of small windows. And I really want my factory to be able to be seen what's going on from the outside, from the front. The back will be open, of course, but from the front I want us to be able to see at least some of the action. So it's important that I have as many windows in there as possible. So then I've got a 1x1x6 arch and just some bricks on the back, and then some jumper plates all along the top. And the reason why I've got jumper plates along the top is the same reason why I've got jumper plates here, and that's because we're going to offset this window by half a stud as well. So you can see that those ones are now in line with the ones on the top there, and this window does stick out quite pleasingly by half a stud on the front. And I think it's details like that that just make a build a lot more interesting to look at. Cool, so I'm going to continue a similar theme along this side and this gap here, and then we can do the doorway. Right, so this side's got even more gaps. We've got a nice wide one for the pedestrian door, and we've got 2 spaces for those windows, so I can add those straight in, and you'll notice I've got more profile bricks throughout and different modified bricks and so on. So I'll put one of those there and another one there. Now this is kind of a facade building. Like a lot of the buildings I do, it sort of suggests that they're a bit bigger than they are, and this one's just been chopped off where it finishes by the fact that we've got the standing hole behind here. So it may well continue on. So the fact that this is kind of ending with the side of a window doesn't bother me at all, because I figure there'll be another column, another window, another column, another window, and so on, because it'll be one of those great big old factory buildings. So that doesn't bother me at all. And then we need to move on to the 2 doorways. So the first one is the big one, which will be the garage door, and I want it to have one of those sliding doors, so I've kind of got loads of those bricks with the groove down the middle, the vertical groove, and that will enable us to put in one of the sort of wobbly garage doors. Which way round is it? That way. Now this won't be permanently down at all when we actually finish it, and that's why it's so short, because we'll actually have the truck sticking out of here with his nose sticking out the front. So this will have to be in the up position, but we can't have it too long in the up position, because otherwise it will block all the balls coming down, which wouldn't be good either. So I'll just leave that there for now. And then on to this gap, which is going to be the pedestrian doorway. And I want this offset as well, but it's a bit more grand. So the first thing I'm going to do is add 3 1x2 jumper plates in there. Then I'm going to add some 2x2 jumper plates in there. And then what I'm going to do is use this very thin old grey base plate. I haven't used that in my city because it's really useful for just building MOCs on, really, just for trying things out. And I'm going to use it today to represent the street, because this will be right up to a road plate in real life, which will be very big for me to show here. So I'm just pretending that this is the pavement or sidewalk bit of that road plate that's going to be next to this thing. Old road plates, not those horrible new monstrosities. So anyway, so now we've got a setup of 3 jumper plates all next to each other, and that's so we can offset the doorway quite interestingly as well. So this will be part of the street, as I say, but we'll have a doorstep on it. And this will be the inside doorstep over here, which is why I've kept all of that in tan. And then I just need to make a doorway structure in here, which I hope you can see is actually a 2x6 gap, and the bottom plate of which can fit exactly in that space. So let's do that. So in those old factories, you just saw how beautiful they made all of the doorways and arches and so on. And that's something I was very keen to try and replicate in this build, which is already looking quite grand with its beautiful colour scheme and its very sort of large window frames and so on. But I definitely wanted to continue that on the pedestrian door, even though it's just an ordinary door for ordinary workers to use. So I've got the same sort of setup that we had before for the window frames, and indeed a similar sort of thing for the sides as well with palisade bricks. But this time we need a door. So I've just got a normal door, but in this lovely green colour, because I thought this green would be a really, really good contrast to this dark red. So that's there. And it's kind of an old style door as well. It's not glazed, but, you know, I can cope with that. So then we need some intricate stonework on the top. So I've got a couple of these scroll detail bricks, and I've also got a couple of the ones with a kind of vertical bar on. And I just want those to really add some intricacy to the top of the doorway like that. And you'll see that I've also put the jumper plates on the top of that because it's going to be that half stud recessed, and that is the plate that will fit perfectly on our weird setup over here. Now if that wasn't enough, we need to add even more, and I thought I'd use one of these lovely lion head modified bricks. I mean, they're really beautiful. They've been on quite a few builds. I've got them in tan as well to use on my museum build in due course, but I couldn't resist getting some more in grey for this one because it's just absolutely perfect for this use. So that will be in pride of place right above the door itself, and I think you'll agree that looks really quite intricate and nice. So let's bring this back. And we can put that on those jumper plates like that. This step, when in position, will be right up like that, and you won't be able to see that they aren't really connected. And we've got that half stud offset here between the wall and the edge of the door, and show you it from the other perspective like that. So it definitely matches our windows over here, and it adds a lot of 3D kind of detail. So I'm really liking that. And then if you were wondering what these ones are for, these modified bricks, that's so I can have a notice on each side of this gate, which will be a lot stronger when I've secured some roof in position. And I thought the reason why there's only one stud here is that I thought that one of them could kind of be falling off a bit or something like that. And the stickers that I'm going to use here are from the current sticker pack that you can still buy on the Lego Shop at Home website. Use my link, and I'm going to use these ones, the no parking loading zone stickers, because I thought they would be very appropriate on here, kind of telling anyone else who is thinking of parking right across this space here not to, because it's permanently in use. And as part of that, another idea from the picture that I showed you earlier of the gate that was a real life Nottingham feature was these kind of big bollards, and they would just sort of stand something like that to show that this was an entranceway and was not to be obstructed. So I thought I'd definitely pinch that idea from real life and make the front look really good. So I'm going to add a few more tiles just to make this look a bit more convincing as a sidewalk or pavement. And then I think we can just get on to some details on the inside as well. Okay, so there's those signs on there, and I think it really completes the look of the front of the building. It's kind of very understated and nondescript, but I think it looks really nice as well. And when we've got the higher floors looking more like this, I think it'll look really great. And this lion I just adore, so that is absolutely brilliant. Right, so on to some interior details. Now, we've got our control area up here already done. We're going to be adding more to this when we do the next floor. And then the next section is going to be largely where the truck is. One thing we do have to add is just a little tunnel sort of section made out of panels in black that's going to hide the little gap between the truck and the mechanism itself. So its little slope will go down there, its little ramp feeding the mechanism with balls, and we won't be able to see any of those balls at all, and they'll appear like they're finishing up their journey inside the back of that truck. So I think that'll look good. And then this will be up, of course, and I can put on this side's top piece of the garage door. So that's going there, and that will be built into basically his control area as well. Maybe we'll have some more screens or something like that. And then on this area, this is where the staff come in, and maybe the customers as well. So I thought I could add kind of a breakout area or a reception area that people would be able to kind of stop and maybe have a break, or maybe just learn about all of the products that are made in this wonderful factory. So I get a couple of chairs, and note I have mounted them off the floor because I know a lot of you prefer that. And then I thought I'd just have a little sort of occasional table with a couple of newspapers on for those taking a break. So I don't know, put that something like there. And then I thought what would be really fun to have near the door for when customers arrive, because when you do go to factories, if you ever have, they've always got some of their product on display, just so visitors can kind of see what's being made and, you know, the pride that the people take in it. So what I've done is built this little rack for the 4 different colours of the GBC balls. And the ingenious thing about this is that it's built kind of studs on the side. So this is actually a 2x6 plate on the back there with 3 fence pieces like that holding the balls, but the balls can't escape. And that was really important when I was designing this, because I didn't want the balls to all roll off some very delicately balanced shelving while I was moving this, say, from this desk to the Lego room, or even just in between takes when producing videos. So that's really good. And I've got an old letterpiece there, just maybe being the description of what the balls actually are. So I really like that. It was a very simple build, but just because they can't escape and are captive, I think that is quite clever, if I do say so myself. And I thought that that would be a display that could kind of turn on its axis and be available for people to look at. Maybe I want it straight on or something like that. I don't really know. But yeah, I think that looks good. And it's very interesting and bright and colourful as well. So yeah, really happy with that. Then we're going to need a pillar to support some of the upstairs floor. But that's fine, because I think a lot of these old buildings do have some of these really old pillars. And that's using that kind of lamppost piece that we will be using throughout the old town on some bricks. And then I think we just need to add a couple of employees. So I've got a lady here who can be having her break there. And this guy in goggles as well. He looks good fun. So I thought I'd have him maybe reaching down for a newspaper or something like that. So we've got some people in action in our factory. And I presume that the red hats and the white hats are doing very different jobs. Maybe the white guys are doing the quality control and they're in more sort of lab conditions, and the red hats are more physical work. I don't know. But yeah, I think that looks good. And you can also see the back of the door now with those nice steps in tan going up to the great green door. So I think that looks really good as well. I don't think I'll be tiling this area because it just seems to me to be a waste of tiles, and it is a factory after all. So the next thing I need to do is put the roof on here. Then I can put the second rail on for the garage door. And then I can also start thinking about some drain pipes on the front. Okay, so hopefully you're starting to get an idea for the feel of this building. And you see I've got that floor on now and this second pathway for the sliding door, so I can even push that up now. So that's looking good. And this side looks like a complete mess in a way, just because it's got this gap for the lift for the balls, but it will all be sort of incorporated when we do the next floor. But the eagle-eyed among you may also see a gap here and here. And that's because I'm going to be using one of these because I wanted to get more interest into the building with the front not being so much of a box. I mean, we've done well already in the fact that we've got some window frames that are proud, the door's proud, we've got some door features, we've got these signs, we've got these bollards and so on. But even more, I wanted to do some drain pipes. And that's because all those buildings seem to have some really big, clunky, interesting, black, cast iron probably drain pipes, and I thought that these wonderful modified plates would be the best way of holding them. So I thought I could put one there and one there, and they would hold a vertical drain pipe between a jumper plate on the pavement below and the round bit of that plate. So this is where it all sort of catapults off in a random direction. No, that's been good. And here's another one for the other side. So that will clip onto a jumper plate on the bottom there, next to a kind of drain hole, and that will go there, and that will complete the roof, or rather the floor, or for the floor above, depending on how you look at it, for each side. And these drain pipes will continue up the full height of the building, and every time I do a new layer for flooring or ceiling, I'll incorporate 2 more of these to hold them. So I think you'll agree that that looks rather special. Now, it is a bit fragile at the moment because it's able to be, because this isn't connected firmly in place. So what I probably will do off camera next is just put a couple of these poles kind of inside that column in the right place, just so these are as strong as they can be. So we'll probably have the top of those kind of sticking out at the end. But there we go. That is our part 3 for our factory build. And although we can't set this running, annoyingly, because so little of the mechanism is actually included at the moment, I hope you get a really good idea of what is to come. We've got the white area over here, which is kind of the control room, with our man here with his tea. We've got the path in, that's all black, so we can't see it very well. We've got the garage door, our breakout area, and GBC, ginormous ball corp display. We've got these really nice big chunky window frames that are actually proud of the wall. This lovely front door with all of its detail. Our no loading signs. And the green I just love, that is just fantastic. This 3D step. And I think it's looking really quite good. So, as always, do tell me what you think. I'll very much appreciate your comments and suggestions. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Check out all of the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be doing a brick haul on Wednesday, and I think it'll be quite a fun one actually this week. There's lots of interesting bits. And then on Friday, we'll be back in the city, Brick Nottingham, for another interesting city update. See you then!